I think politicians should have to release their
could you imagine if politicians had to?
You can come after sex workers and try to regulate our business. You should have to tell us what you're watching.
We have to see your Google browser history. Dunk it.
Dunk it. Do you have cookies?
I have one Stroop waffle left from Darklands. I'll split it with you.
I hate to tell you, you do not have one Stroop waffle left.
Did you eat it?
No.
I had one Stroop waffle.
That is more accurate.
Stop the cameras. When did you eat my cookie?
Maybe you should Google that.
Hello!
Welcome back to
What's Safeword?
I'm Amp.
I'm Mr. Christopher.
And today
we are Googling that.
Recently, there has been backlash on the internet in terms of pornography and work. So today we are going to deep dive into the myths all about and see, is
good?
What I mean, I think it is.
I mean, what does your Google autofill when you say is?
Well,
is that what we're doing?
That's what we're So today we're going to break down myths around pornography, the use of it, and how it affects our society. Roll that title card. So Daddy, would you like to do the honors and rip off what that first is going to be? Is illegal.
Illegal. Is illegal?
Daddy, what do you have to say on that?
It depends on where you live.
That is actually a very good answer. In the US, porn is, for all intents and purposes, legal to promote, to make, and to use so long as you are over the age of 18 and knowingly not promoting it to anyone under that age.
Right.
And did you know, according to Porn Consumption, a Modality and Function, which was a study done in 2020, apparently about 92% of men and about 60% of women online use porn and consume it in some way. And that is a phenomenally large number.
That doesn't shock me at all.
No, I really doesn't mean
Internet is really, really great.
all over the world, you'll see here that the green parts are where porn is legal. You can consume it, but the yellow is where it's kind of iffy, and the red, which is far too much for my own personal taste, is where it's illegal technically.
Yeah,
look at that map.
That does not surprise me at all.
And as you said earlier, non-obscene pornography is federally legal under what's called the Miller test.
Ooh, the Miller test. Is that like the frat boy test where you figure out how much Miller Lite you can drink in one chug?
No.
Should be.
No, in fact, the Miller test comes in 3 parts. The first one of which is whether the average person applying contemporary community standards would find that work taken as a whole appealing to the prurient interests.
The prurient interest?
I don't know who prurient is, but
Who is prurient?
it's more puritanical like values.
No, I got that part.
The second is whether the work depicts or describes, in a patently offensive way, sexual conduct specifically defined by applicable state law. And the third is whether the work taken as a whole lacks serious literacy, artistic, political, or scientific value. And as you'll note here, all of these things come down to what the state depicts.
So it's subjective.
Very much so. That's
I know porn when I see it.
which is a Supreme Court ruling that happened in what year?
When Larry Flint was taking his pornography case all the way to the Supreme Court.
And that's where they sided with him and said, this is technically it's free speech, it's art, and that's why it's legal. The only times when porn is not legal, of course, is when it's someone who is underage.
Or when it's depicting something actually illegal, like murder or animals.
And of course, when it's used as revenge, which in many states is very much illegal. So, is porn legal? Yeah, you just gotta make sure you follow the rules, have age restrictions, and you know what you're doing.
And you're above 18. Okay, the next one. Is porn banned in Texas?
Yes.
We were just in Texas.
Oh my God. And let me just say, we went to an event. It was lovely, it was great, but like the Republicans that were trying to dox the people, educators, and just organizers of that event was so maddening.
Which is really a shame because everything really is bigger in Texas.
Oh, what?
Good porn comes out of Texas.
Okay. And actually, the puritanical porn ban has started all the way back in 2016. This didn't just start in Texas. It actually started in Utah, where faith-based anti-porn activists drafted and advanced a resolution declaring pornography to be a public health crisis, even though they had no backing, they had no scientific proof, and they were pretty much just using their puritanical religious views to try to back it up and show harm on people and especially kids.
And this is what they're trying to do on the local levels everywhere. This is where the obscenity laws on the local levels come into play. Also, Texas has a long history of banning all sorts of porn activity. You weren't able to own more than 3 dildos personally. They've always had a sodomy law on the books, which just was overturned. And they don't like sex for some reason.
No, but even back in 2016, Salt Lake City Department of Health even said, that's not true. This is not a public health crisis.
Actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen.
But that did not then stop dozens of states trying to do the very same thing.
They all have to go to their local courts to get it overturned. And if it just takes one to be on their side, then they've got an end.
And unfortunately, in Texas, the Supreme Court's even siding with this ban and allowing it to happen. So in 2024, porn bans are actively happening, and this is only going to set precedent if we allow it to without actually looking at facts. Hi, welcome to today's video. But you know what did go up in Texas most recently?
What?
VPN demands.
I bet.
By about 24% on the whole. Speaking of sponsors though, that's why we're very thankful for today's sponsor, VIIA, who's making sure we not only are getting sensual online, but also offline, because they ship to you right to your door, no questions asked, discreetly, so long as you're over the proper legal age.
And you can make your own home porn and be very relaxed and elevated.
And VIIA has developed a unique blend of pleasure-enhancing cannabinoids, libido-strengthening herbs, and low doses of CBD into one mind-blowing gummy called High Love. We're talking about pairing aphrodisiac herbs with a mild amount of THC. The products have great flavors and are made with vegan and organic ingredients, and their best-selling High Love will not only heighten your senses, but will also increase your sexual pleasure in the bedroom.
They also offer a wide range of products for different experiences.
And the best part, VIIA legally ships to all 50 states in discreet packaging directly to your door. No medical card required. So if you're 21 and up, use offer code what, Daddy?
WATTS Watts.
Or the link down below to get 15% off plus a free sample on us. VIIA is the only lifestyle hemp brand. Whether you want to get better sleep, ease anxiety, enhance your mood, or just get a little elevated, they also have zero THC products just in case. So check out VIIA in the link down below at viiahemp.com. Use offer code WATT and you will get 15% off as well as a wonderful mood.
Thank you, VIIA.
Now you can Google VIIA if you want, but I'm more curious as to what other Google things people are searching for when it comes to porn.
All right.
Daddy, do the honors.
Next one. Is porn too easy to access?
But would it shock you to realize, or at least go through some stats that say that's not the case? Now, I'll be the first to say, as a sex worker and person that lives in a sexual space, porn is at its height of accessibility when it comes to social media and just finding porn online.
And while porn companies themselves do a pretty good job because they don't want to give away porn for free, it is the easy access and people sharing, stealing clips, and providing it to others that minors see it.
In fact, studies show that accidentally finding it is where you're usually going to get into some very aggressive porn that can, I want to be very clear, can cause harm when it is not properly dealt with. But this can easily be mitigated by online filters, blockers, and parental controls that you can actively put onto your own devices for your children.
I know, personally, when I was 13, I would go in and steal my dad's Playboys from under his bed and look at them and put them back.
A lockbox, for instance, would be really great for your father in that case.
I wish there was not as much free porn as there is out there. Every 18-year-old with the iPhone can create.
But it's legal to create.
No, I know, but it floods the Ethernets with porn.
Internet is really, really great.
For porn.
I mean, when the legality is literally, are you 18, yes or no, to enter a website? That is,
It needs a further step than that.
It does, but then when there is a further step, then you get stuff like porn being banned in Texas.
But there's credit cards that verify that you're 18. You can't have a credit card under 18. So if you have a name on a credit card, that should be enough.
I agree.
Okay.
But actual studies will talk about kids finding porn accidentally, and what we see that is saying that porn is too easy to access on these sites is they look at these studies and they go for the highest number possible, because actual studies show the lowest prevalence found for teens accidentally coming across porn online was 19%, and the studies with the highest prevalence found were 84% of teens. So when we see these politicians using the 80s and the 90% of children are finding porn, it's really disingenuous and doesn't actually have an open open conversation for the gray areas that exist there of maybe we just need to fix some of the ways in which kids are able to access the internet.
And we're not saying that the 19% is okay. We're just saying there's got to be other ways to block it.
And we're saying that we should be looking at these stats and using it in a beneficial way. So is porn too accessible? It is definitely at the height most accessible right now, but I don't think that that is the causation of why porn is harmful for some people.
So why do you think it is?
I'm ready for the next one because I think it's going to be relevant. Is porn an addiction?
Porn addiction. This is the next trope they're pushing.
This is a huge myth in that porn is an addiction. Now, porn addiction is used to describe obsessive compulsive viewing of pornographic material or other visually sexual stimuli for the purposes of sexual pleasure. And according to science, porn addiction is not a thing. So, we just end it there, I guess.
So, okay, bye.
To answer your previous question, the DSM, or the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, which essentially is where we get all of our mental health related compulsive disorders. In fact, in the DSM, the gays were seen as a disorder until not that long ago.
Not that long ago, my lifetime.
So while the DSM is this manual that we use for a lot of brain-related compulsions disorders, they're not the only ones that see this and stand by porn is not an addictive thing. In fact, they are also backed by various global health organizations, including American Psychological Association, the World Health Organization, counselors and therapists at AASECT or ASECT, which is essentially what the US uses as a credential body just talking about sexuality. So if you can't take our word for it, there's 6 other organizations that the US looks at for health.
Does the DSM, when it studies fetish, do they call themselves the BDSM? Good points. Come back.
Me walking out is not points. Psychologists will say that dopamine, that thing that you get when you're doing a little bit of hanky-panky, is a good thing, but the neuroplasticity for everybody is different, and that's why we see addictions in people that are very, very harmful, but then maybe similar people or other people in their family don't have that same plasticity. Everyone's brain is a little bit different. That doesn't mean that addiction is not a real thing, but when it comes to porn addiction, there's no real studies that support that that is an actual problem. In fact, in the study Perceived Addiction to Internet Pornography and Psychological Distress, examining relationships concurrently and over time, studies show that being distressed about your porn use is usually not linked to the porn being harmful or an addiction, but actually
what people think of you.
I mean, not wrong. In fact, the people that self-proclaim themselves as addicted are not watching more porn than people. In fact, in these studies, they show a lot more distress around that shame and that stigma that is brought upon them by society, friends, or other people in their lives.
Especially loved ones.
And that is causing that distress.
Yeah. So stop shaming me for the porn I watch.
I literally have never shamed you in your life. In fact, I film some of the porn you make sometimes. Don't even get me started.
Fine.
Daddy, you'll notice, oh my God, oh no.
Oh, we've Googled it all.
We've Googled it all. Whoa, plot twist, there's a backside.
Oh God.
So sometimes you'll see these interviews where movie stars will go through their search histories, and sometimes they'll do does or is.
Is this your search history?
So this is, again, more myths and top searches around porn that revolves around does porn something. Does porn pay well?
Pay well. No.
Well, I mean, that depends.
Although, nobody's paying for porn anymore because they're finding it for free all over the internet.
I'm sorry, what is your job currently?
Well, okay, with some caveats. But the rate for a porn star was much higher in the 90s than it is now.
True, and according to ZipRecruiter, we actually have a... all places.
ZipRecruiter?
Yes, because they give you baselines and price
Do they
points.
recruit porn stars?
No, but they have actual studies on pornography. So, while top performers could be making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, the average porn scene, you get paid like $300 nowadays for a studio porn. However, if you are a pornographer that works for yourself and you kind of have to calculate your own hourly rate, according to ZipRecruiter, as of April 25th, 2024, the average hourly pay for a porn star in the United States is $21.94 an hour.
Well, I mean, I guess that's good. I mean, it does mean that doing porn does pay better than working at McDonald's. Personally, I think porn has shifted to a personality-based model with the fan sites. People will pay for an individual they want to support now, where they didn't used to be able to do that with studio porn.
True. And with 2.1 million creators on OnlyFans, the range of the top creators, it varies vastly. Of all the money made on OnlyFans, 1/3 of that is made by just the 1%.
That makes sense.
It does.
It's just
It
like
does.
life.
It is, but I mean,
The 1%ers.
the fluctuation is so, it's not unsurprising. It's just, it's very interesting to look at.
Yeah.
The people that are in that 1% already have established audiences. They already have a large following somewhere, and that is how they are marketing.
And too many people who think they have a good body and do have a good body also don't put in the work. Because people will pay to follow you as long as you're giving back to the person who's paying.
Got a fast connection, so I don't have to wait.
For porn! Next search.
Does porn make you horny? No. Negatively affect sex lives.
Porn is a tool.
You're a big tool.
Oh. Went from negative to a positive real quick.
No, porn is a fantasy. You're creating fantasies, right? And that people get off to and they want to.
We do not teach sex education as we should. We treat our kids and teens when they ask questions about their bodies and sex like idiots. So, without that proper education, sex education talks about consent, porn is seen as sex education.
And it should not be. That is not where you should be getting your education, is from porn. It's fantasy.
And when we talk about the health benefits or how it could negatively affect our sex lives, we also have to talk about the brain again, similar to the addiction. It's when we do not have that proper education that the compulsion to want to do more porn rather than build a relationship is going to be an issue. But on the whole, that is not true across the board. In fact, there are other studies that say that watching porn together with your partner can actually lead to learning something about each other.
And more arousal.
Well, yeah, have you ever watched porn with a partner?
I love watching porn while I have sex.
Have you ever created porn with a partner?
Yeah, I love creating porn with you.
Porn viewership alone is not going to negatively affect your sex life.
What negatively affects your sex life is poor communication.
And when we talk about poor sex lives, erectile dysfunction always comes up. But even in the realm of erectile dysfunction, what causes erectile dysfunction is stress, outside shame, negative body, health in general.
Do you know what helps erectile dysfunction? Porn. It does.
Research done by SexMed would say that you are correct in that, because when you watch porn, whether it's by yourself or with a partner, you learn about the things that turn you on. You get turned on. You have more attraction to your partner because you are aroused, and that is the person that you get to be aroused with.
And usually you only put things on that you're aroused by.
But does porn negatively affect sex lives? No, it is a tool. It is a thing that you can use to increase your sex life. But if you're using it as a scapegoat to say this is why America's bad, this is why kids are feeling depressed, no, that is the outward shame and stigma and other things that happen to our bodies, stress, shame, that really affect our lives negatively. What else does porn though, Daddy?
Does porn increase sex trafficking? Ooh, interesting.
Well, what do you think, Daddy? We've done a number of videos on Sesta Fosta. We've even talked about the Aethernaut Act.
Well, I think there's a huge difference in porn and sex trafficking.
So sex trafficking is essentially using sex work in an exploitative manner without consent or doing it to someone who is not legally of age or wanting to do the porn.
Or against their will.
And so when we look at laws been put on the books like Sesta Fosta, which is Stop Enabling Sex Trafficking Acts, something that was put into effect by Kamala Harris and a number of other politicians. It was the one that pretty much took down Backpage and Craigslist Personals.
And Tumblr.
And Tumblr inadvertently as well. Now, what they're trying to do is make that whole Tumblr ban across the entire internet with something called the Aethernaut Act. Now that is what's going to increase sex trafficking. In fact, when the anti-sex work laws were put into place to stop sex trafficking, we actually saw increases in spikes. In San Francisco alone, the police department here actually stated sex trafficking was up 170% because of those laws trying to stop it. When you put laws on the books to stop sex trafficking or stop consensual sex work, you actually are harming the sex workers and the marginalized communities even further.
It's religious beliefs as well.
Yeah, the puritanical views are what drive a lot of these laws. These people just can't wrap their minds around the fact that why would someone want to do sex work? Daddy, why do you want to do sex work?
Well, I enjoy doing sex work. It's something I've done all my life. And another thing, it actually makes me feel good to show a positive especially in BDSM sex, a positive way of doing it.
And your stuff is not bam, 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 sex, hardcore, which is...
I do a little education as well.
Yeah, you do the in-betweens, and you do the soft and the sensual, but you also do like the bam, ow. Okay, wow, didn't consent to that. Sesta Fosta, please, get him, get him,
That's not what that law.
Get her, Jay.
So, finally, does porn increase violence? It depends. Is it violent porn?
No, well, so that is another one where personal bias is very important, because what I find violent is not going to be what you find violent. And what we find violent is going to be far more aggressive than what, say, a religious person that lives in the Middle West finds violent.
Have you seen a horror movie lately?
Oh, I love horror movies.
Yeah, but it is so people are shot and killed every single day on television with no parental control.
We have so many things in our world that could be a larger issue than porn right now, from wars overseas that are then being protested here, to our bodies and our rights to healthcare, to kids being able to just go to school without having to worry about guns. I still don't understand why porn is the issue here.
It's a red herring. And porn is often blamed and perceived to be causing violence against women, especially by men. A lot of porn is created for men, so the perception I can understand where men are very aggressive towards women, people will see that as demeaning to women.
But the actual stats would suggest that as more porn was accessible, assaults on women actually went down across the board, not in just the US, but also in other countries.
And I think this is another example of why porn should not be used for education, because when a teenager sees a man aggressively a woman and the woman moaning in pleasure, and that is not the reality of life. And a lot of studios like kink.com used to do interviews with both models so that everything was out in the open and people could see the transparency of the consent.
When we talk about those kinds of behind the scenes interviews that happen, or even talk about the aftercare, people are very surprised sometimes. We talked about it once on a podcast and people were like, oh, that completely changed how I looked at kink.com videos, period. Yeah. I didn't ever watch the interviews because they not sexy, when in fact it actually made the people a lot more connected with that scene.
Yeah.
One of my favorite studies that's pointed out when you talk about aggression and violence in not only BDSM porn, but just in porn in general, was called Aggression and Sexual Behavior in Best-Selling Pornography Videos, a content analysis update, where they talked about violence against women, and they said that they were going to do a very deep dive into pornography, especially BDSM. Can you guess how many videos they used in that very, very deep dive?
10.
No. A few more than that. No.
12.
304 scenes.
Oh, wow, that's a lot more.
Well, that's still not a lot, though. No. If you're doing a study of something, like, I don't care if the video is 10 minutes or an hour, you're going to need more than 300 videos.
So what did they find?
Well, they said across the board, 88.2% of porn scenes analyzed contained physical aggression, 48.7% contained verbal aggression, both of which were defined with actors commonly engaged in or consensual kink. Of these consensual scenes, again, they were consensual, the study cited that 95.1% of the scenes showed recipients of these behaviors to be pleasurable or neutral. But the number was just as easily indicating that the activity was consensual and pleasurable. So I don't know what the problem was in that study.
It seems like they're saying the same thing.
No, they're trying to use these stats to say that the porn was aggressive and demeaning.
Yeah, but also consensual and pleasurable.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Do you see the confusion here?
I'm always confused, so that, yeah.
So I am confusion.
The studies are confusing. The numbers that people will cherry pick are even more so. But I think the realism is that sex work isn't perfect. It's a tool. Like, we love sex work, and we might be biased in that we do it, we create it, and it's brought, niceness to our lives.
We don't always love sex work. Sex work is work.
It is work. And sometimes it's like an exhausting day. Sometimes it is really like demeaning in your personal mental health. But that's where you need to be able to look at it and actually take in the good, process the bad. It's like any other job in that it has its ups and its downs, but it's a job.
Literally.
You're hilarious.
Get it?
Yeah, I do.
Get it?
So, at the end of the day, whether you're Googling is porn or does porn, do you think that porn is a public health crisis?
No, I think that's a red herring.
I think that porn is a tool. It is something that can be used for good. It's something that can be used for bad. If you want to use porn as a wonderful sex-positive tool that helps you and your partner unwind after a long day, great.
And if you want to do it to make a living, that's fine too.
But if you find that porn is something that doesn't add value to your life, you don't have to watch it. You don't have to look at it.
No one's forcing you to.
No one's forcing you to. It's so frustrating to see kids not being treated with the proper respect they deserve when talking about their sexual health.
Or even being talked to about sex at all.
I think having down-to-earth conversations where we treat porn like a human experience is a good thing.
And when it comes to porn, I really think porn is for adults, and we should safeguard them so they don't get in the hands of minors. Porn always has and always will exist, no matter how hard they try to outlaw it.
I think the problem here is that we do not safeguard our children on the whole. Our regulations and the way in which we allow kids to just jump on an iPhone and do whatever the hell they want is not a good thing. There's not only studies that talk about the porn, but there's studies that talk about how social media is not healthy for kids and teens. We should be a lot more concerned about that.
And if you want to join the conversation, please leave a comment down below and we will respond.
And if you're watching porn or not, always have a safe word. What should the safe word be?
Quadruple X.
Because that extra X is just...
Sometimes you need an extra X.
X. If you keep saying X over and over again...
You get sex.
Yeah.
Sex.
If you like this episode, leave a like down below.
And if you like ringing bells, ring that bell down below and you might be notified of our next one.
But regardless, don't forget to subscribe and we will see you all next time. Bye! I think politicians should have to release their...
Oh, could you imagine if politicians had to?
You can come after sex workers and try to regulate our business. You should have to tell us what you're watching.
We have to see your Google browser history.
I would love that.
That would be amazing. Could you imagine?
Or terrifying.
Well...
I don't know if I want to know what Joe Biden's looking at.
Well... What about Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Next.